The Grook, written by Captain FrightNite. Performance, audio production, and music by Clement.
First, before I tell you my story, I need you to understand that I never meant for any of this to happen. All I wanted was to live a normal, happy life that everyone else I know does. This disease, that thing infected me with, has ruined every single chance I had at having a life. And now, it's telling me, no, forcing me to destroy my sweet baby boy. The one person that has truly loved me and stayed by my side no matter what I look like or what I've done. The answer to your question is yes. The picture that you're looking at right now is exactly what I look like. I drew it a few years back, before I lost the ability to use my hands for anything other than ripping throats. It sounds horrible, I know, but maybe you'll understand better once I explain. What I'm about to tell you is the absolute truth and is something I've never told anyone about until now, for fear of being hunted down and experimented upon. But I need to do this. You need to know this for your own safety. I leave this recording in hopes that someone somewhere can find a cure for this disease. I'll tell you everything you need to know and everything that I've been made to do. I will try my best to sugarcoat it as much as possible, but I warn you, it's not a pretty story. I suppose I should start from the beginning, as you won't understand how this happened if I don't. I only hope you can forgive me for the things I've done. My name is, was Emily Maynard, and I was 5 years old when my family and I moved to a 400-acre farm in Queensland, Australia. As most loving parents do, they had made the decision to move to a quiet country town where literally nothing ever happened, thinking it would be the perfect place for my brother Tom and I to grow up. And it was. For a while. In those early days of my life, there was no such thing as iPads or the new technology we have today to keep us occupied. No, believe it or not, we actually had to create our own fun with nothing but our inexpensive toys, a sandpit, and chasing the usual wallabies that would wander into our backyard. Further up alongside our driveway were a few reasonably sized holes that some foxes had dug into a couple of large dirt hills. My dad, being the joker he was, would often tell us it was the door to a pub where all the animals went to have a beer. Me, being the gullible little girl I was, believed him. We were both warned, of course, to never go in there, as we could step on a snake, or as my annoying brother would say, "The Grook will get you." I had no idea what a Grook was, and even after my mother would scold him for scaring me with silly stories, I still could not shake the feeling that he could be telling the truth. On the way back to the house from our usual morning walk to get the mail, Tom thought it would be quite hilarious to throw my favorite toy horse Sally into one of the foxholes while Dad wasn't watching. I told my father what Tom had done and begged him repeatedly to retrieve my beloved little friend, but he had no intention of reaching his hand inside that mysterious place. Mum had promised to buy a new one in a few days' time, which kept me quiet for a little while. But when you make a connection with your favorite toy, no new one will ever be the same. The following morning, I had made the decision that if nobody was going to help me rescue Sally, then I'd do it myself. My parents had gone for a drive to the neighbor's house, leaving my brother and I home alone for a few minutes. I went into the lounge room and found Tom playing with his toys. That mainly consisted of motorbikes and little green soldiers. Good, I thought. That ought to keep him occupied for some time. Sneaking into the kitchen, I grabbed a few snacks from the cupboard and poured myself a cold drink of water into an empty bottle. I hurriedly made my way outside to my pink bike and placed the items into the basket on the handles. I then began the exhausting and hot ride up the long driveway. I knew that I had less than 10 minutes to reach the foxholes, get Sally out, and ride back home before my parents noticed I was gone. Arriving at the foxholes, I dismounted my bike and reached for the water bottle, savoring the cooling sensation the liquid gave my parched throat. The temperature must have been at least 30 or so degrees, which to a kid living in the country is bloody hot. I stared at the hills, breathing heavily, one hand on the water bottle and the other wiping my forehead. Oh, God, it was hot. And being slightly more unfit than the other kids had quite a few disadvantages. It didn't matter, though. Sally was the only friend I had in this big world, and I knew I had to find her. A few weeks back from my birthday, Mum and I drove to Toy World, where I was given the chance to buy whatever toy I wanted. We weren't a particularly rich family in those days, so us kids made the most of any chance we got at gaining a new toy. I remember the moment I laid eyes on Sally in that gigantic toy store, and I knew in my heart that she was the one I wanted. Mum had told me that Sally was a very special toy that could play hide and seek with you. Once my beautiful mother had hidden Sally somewhere in the house for the 100th time that day, I'd press the button on the back of the horse's pink brush and listen to Sally call out,
"I'm here."
Or,
"Can you see me now?" "I'm in here. I'm in here."
God, I missed her. Placing the water bottle on the dry, cracked ground, I slowly made my way over to the burrow I had watched Tom throw her in. It was the largest of all 4 dirt hills, and to the looks of things it was incredibly dark inside and seemed to go on forever. Damn it, I'd forgotten to bring the bloody torch. Oh well, I guessed I'd have to hope for the best. I knelt down onto my hands and knees and began to crawl, very cautiously, into the unknown ahead. It was surprisingly cool inside, and a few rays of sunlight seemed to radiate dimly from somewhere within, to the point that I was able to make out my surroundings. I had thought for sure it would only be a small area inside where the fox would sleep, but I was very wrong. The hole I had entered led towards what seemed like a tunnel that someone, or something, had created using their bare hands. Instead of it leading forwards, however, the tunnel made its way down, even deeper beneath the earth. I took a slow, deep breath, trying as hard as I could to steady myself. I had never liked the dark, thanks to my no-good brother and his cruel tricks, which had reduced me to sleeping with the nightlight on. I had begun searching the area I was kneeling on, desperately hoping to find Sally so I could get the hell out of there, when I heard it.
"I'm here."
It was so quiet, almost like a whisper, that I was unsure I had even heard it. I tilted my head towards the tunnel where the voice had echoed from, listened intently for a few moments. Nothing. I must be hearing things. I sighed miserably and began backing out of the entrance 1 inch at a time, knowing there was no way I'd ever find Sally in this place.
"Hello."
I froze, mid-crawl. I had definitely heard it that time. Someone was calling me from deep within that tunnel. The voice didn't belong to that of my parents, my brother, or anyone I knew at the time. It was strange and sounded almost like a disjointed recording you'd hear from a broken toy. Hello? Not only was my voice quivering in fear, but my body as well, and even in the cool shade of the den, I was sweating profusely.
I'm in here.
My eyes widened when I suddenly realized who it was. Sally? The sound of quiet, almost nervous laughter echoed from somewhere deep within.
Can you see me now?
It sounded just like Sally's voice, but how on earth was she talking when I distinctly remembered leaving the pink brush on my bedside table? I paused for a moment, unsure how to react, how to move, how to think, how to breathe. Trust me, I wanted to rush to my friend and hold her in my arms, but there was a part of me that screamed, "Get out of there now." No, I couldn't leave her there all alone in the dark, not when I had come this far to get her back. I took one last deep breath and made my way over to the underground tunnel and peered over the edge into the area below. I gagged in disgust when a foul odor hit me like a ton of bricks, entering my nose and filling my mouth. It smelt of filth, disease, and death. I could almost taste it. Blocking my nose with one hand, I used the other to support myself as I carefully leaned down, trying to make out what the horrendous smell was. The light I'd noticed from before radiated from the far end of the tunnel, which branched off 5 or so meters from where I lay.
Can you see me now?
The childlike voice startled me momentarily as my eyes darted toward the source of the sound. I almost cried tears of joy upon noticing the black and white horse lying just out of reach. I smiled widely and lay down on my stomach, stretching out my right hand as far as I could.
You're getting warmer.
She was so close. If I could just reach a little further.
Almost there. Emily.
I frowned slightly when I heard Sally's cheerful voice instantly become deep and cold. Every fiber of my being was literally screaming at me to remove my hand from the darkness below, but I continued to reach out until my 3 small fingers wrapped around the horse's back legs. Gotcha! Overjoyed, I was ready to pull her up into my arms and never let go, when a large, severely burnt and decayed hand reached out and grasped tightly around my wrist.
My turn.
My smile fell the second I heard the low and threatening voice. A cold shiver ran through my body when it dawned on me that it wasn't coming from the toy horse. It was coming from right beside me. I turned my head to the right ever so slowly to face whatever horror awaited me. When my gaze fell upon the eyes of the thing that had spoken, the only knowledge my 5-year-old brain could compute at the time was that whatever the hell it was certainly not human. Its eyes were large and white, as if it was blind and were close to popping out of the sockets. Some of its teeth were missing, but the ones that remained were long and sharp and could easily tear chunks from my arm that was now pinned beneath the creature's jagged nails. I whimpered helplessly as it inched closer and closer towards my face, snarling the entire time. The dim light in the background allowed me to make out that it was naked from head to toe and missing all hair. It was terrifying, and I wanted nothing more than to scream for my mother. "What do you want?" I sobbed quietly, the words mashed together, making it sound more like a pitiful mumble than an actual sentence. Hot tears were now flooding down my flushed cheeks as I stared into its soulless eyes. It cocked its head to one side and raised a long finger to my nose, breathing in low, rattly groans. Its reply to my question was spoken in the exact same voice Sally had done.
You.
It let out a loud shriek, which echoed throughout the tunnel. I screamed at the same time and tore my hand from the thing's grasp, desperately trying to escape as quickly as I could. I somehow managed to turn my body around in such a tight squeeze and hastily began crawling out of the den. My parents' voices could be heard from outside calling my name. They must have seen the bike and noticed I was missing. I screamed and hollered for them to get me out frantically over the top of the creature's snarling. Mom! Dad! I threw a quick glance over my shoulder and noticed the damn thing scurrying after me. I had to get out of there. I had to get out. I threw my arms out of the entrance hole and cried as my dad's strong hands grasped mine, yanking me out of that hell. But not before the creature dug its sharp nails into the back of my leg, leaving 3 deep cuts. I flew into my father's arms, sobbing hysterically into his shoulder. I begged them to take us as far as possible from that place as they could. And thankfully they did. On the drive back to the house to pick up my brother, Mum asked what the hell I was doing in there and what happened to my leg. I couldn't tell her. I was taken to hospital to have the cuts on my leg stitched up and checked for any foreign objects or bacteria. The doctor had informed my parents that my serotonin levels were extremely low and that they found some kind of infection in the claw marks, so they had given me an antibiotic injection to treat it. No one could explain what exactly had attacked me in the fox den, and there was no way I was about to tell them, because no one believes the word of a child. The first symptoms began when I was 24, a few months after my son was born. Strange how it all started a rather long time after I was infected. My dark tanned skin turned into this sickly, pale white and green you see before you. My teeth began falling out. I lost a large majority of my sight, and no matter how much I eat, I never gain weight. Yet even though all food turns to ash in my mouth, I get so hungry that I don't notice it and I can't stop. I lost my family, and many innocent people lost theirs to this sick and twisted disease. I never meant to kill them, or anyone for that matter, let alone eat them. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm so sorry. I don't want to do this to you. I don't want this life for you. But it's the only way I can make the hunger stop.
Mom, why did Uncle Tom call the creature the Grook?
I still don't understand why it was called that, sweetheart. When I came back here to the den to confront the creature, it was... Oh, God.
Mom? Are you okay?
No.
Ethan, run! What's wrong? I'm
So... hungry.
What do you need? What?